I don't want to make an assumption here, but if you are African or live in Africa or are of African descent and are in the diaspora somewhere, you've probably heard of the phrase African time. And if you've been to an African wedding, you may be thinking, I know what African time is. So today in ReImagine Africa, we're talking about African time and whether or not Africans are ever on time. I've been on time for a lot of things. But African time is an assumption that Africans or people of African descent, wherever they are in the world, have a lapse approach to time. And it even implies that Africans have a disregard for other people's programs, other people's schedules, and even other people's times. What are your thoughts on it? In 2007, in Ivory Coast, so if you're Ivorian, please let me know in the comments. In Ivory Coast, they actually launched a campaign around African time and helping individuals unlearn African time. And they even had an event as part of this campaign. And the name of the event was Punctuality Night, and it was literally an award ceremony to award business leaders, to award individuals that were working for government that were always seen to be punctual in their meetings, in their addresses, in their events. So they were awarded in order to encourage this behavior of being on time, showing up punctually. And the slogan for the actual campaign was, African time is killing Africa. Let's fight it. So let's talk African time. What are your thoughts? Welcome to ReImagine Africa. All right, guys, welcome to ReImagine Africa. Now, you'll notice that today I am looking cute in my African attire. So I am so happy to be dressed up this way because I thought, you know what, this is the ReImagine Africa series, and I've never really dressed up for the series. So I thought, why not today just do that? And I've opened up the curtain here to let the sun shine in. I love the sun. I love the warmth of the sun. I love having it on me. So just some of my favorite things going on here today. So this is a little outfit that you would wear. This is very general. But you've probably seen the bigger hat. I do own one of those, but I don't wear it when I dress up because as part of my culture, I am Umzulu, what we would call Umzulu from the Zulu tribe. That big hat, that's called Inkehli, is actually worn by married women. So I wouldn't wear one of those. And I've had people when I dress up, they ask, why don't you wear the big hat? It's so cute. And I go, I know it's cute, but I can't wear it because I'm not a married woman. And so that's reserved for those individuals in our society. And then what I'm wearing at the moment is for the young maidens who are not necessarily married. So I haven't been blessed in that way as yet. Let's see what happens, right? Okay, so let's move along to talk about our topic for today. Goodness, guys, are Africans ever on time? Just like if you answer anything, if you give me anything in the comments, just give me that. And I don't want to give my opinion. But I want us to just have a conversation here, especially around this topic. Now, there are numerous pieces of writing that have been done, all scholarly opinion pieces, blogs, articles, all sorts of things, tweets, you name it, it's been written around this concept of African time and how it may or may not be, like the Ivorian campaign found, killing Africa, and how African time is actually a almost way of demeaning how Africans see and perceive time. Now, the important thing that I found when I was doing a lot of looking into this concept is that it goes all the way back to how individuals or societies, different societies, perceive time to start with. Apparently, Africans have this very different or contrary to Western view around time, but a long time ago, not necessarily today. Today, we're a lot more westernized in the way that we view time, the way we view schedules and appointments and those types of things. But because of how Africans began to perceive time in the olden days, that may be one of the key drivers. Now, there isn't anything specific or exact or as determined as truth around this, but those are some of the ideas that people are saying, is that, hey, just to think about African time, it's important to understand how Africans told time back in the days, and how Africans had a different perspective around what time is, and how there's even writing around the concept of how time is actually just a construct of our own minds, and that life really is just a continuum of no real time, that there isn't actually such a thing as time to start with. Now, I'm more on that side of the fence. Let's not go too deep into it, but really that's where I sort of am. But with that being said, is that a reason then to discard being on time altogether? Is it really good enough? Can we say that? What does it really mean? And I think the really important conversation to have here is, okay, is this a matter of understanding how Africans used to perceive time and how that's influenced how we see time today, or our approach to time today? Or going, hey, let's work on unlearning this idea of having a tardy approach or a relaxed approach around time, and just, relearn our approach to be better, or relearn a better approach to time. So let's have the conversation. If you've been watching, and if you haven't, I encourage you to go back and watch all of the ReImagine Africa episodes we've had so far. But if you haven't, the way that we order our episodes is that they are split into 3. So we look at awareness first. Awareness is all about asking the questions, getting the understanding, because I feel like if we can't measure it or be aware of it, we can't change it. We can't do anything about it. So it's so important to raise our awareness around everything that we say. We want to unlearn everything that we say is holding us back. Now, the second thing that we look at is action. What can we do? What are the steps? What are the things that we can relearn as we unlearn, and in this specific case, our approach to African time, or African time altogether? Not too sure. And then the last one that we look at is, how do we keep it up? How do we keep it going? How do we build momentum? How do we build the behaviors, the habits, the routines that keep us going in the direction of what we want to relearn? Now, if you are of Caribbean descent, or you're from any island in the diaspora, you'll know that what you might be familiar with would be something like a Caribbean time, as it's called sometimes, or island time, which is also more of like a, hey, you know what? No rush. There's no rush to get anything done. Let's relax. And sometimes it can even result in people or individuals being an entire hour, 2 hours, 3 hours late for certain appointments. And this is the interesting thing, guys, is that we have such different approaches to it. Some people will say it's not a big deal, but others will say it is. Now, I'd like to know from you, what do you think the things are that are influencing that? That some people will see it as, it's not a big deal. You're 3 hours late for the meeting, and there's no longer a meeting to be in anyway, but you're 3 hours late for it, and it's not a big deal. And someone will say, oh my goodness, how are you 3 hours late? And both of them are African. So what do you think differentiates the two? Now, having said that, let's move right along. Let's talk about our steps. So what we're actually going to do. Now, we're going to break it up into awareness. Goodness, I'd written such great notes on this. Now I can't find them. Notes, where are you guys? Guys, my notes are gone. Okay, I think. Guys, my notes. Okay, here they are. I found them. Sorry, guys, I found them. I think it might be the sun. I'm getting a little bit flushed. Okay, so first thing is awareness, raising our awareness. And usually the way that we split this is into questioning, asking questions, being better at asking the right questions that help us to ascertain some of the key insights that we need, that are going to help to drive us forward and have better decision-making power, and be better at being conscious around when this happens, how it happens, what we can do about it as well. So under awareness today, we're going to talk about 2 things. And these are the same 2 things we're going to talk about when we go into action as well. And they are being aware about whether or not you are perpetuating this metaphor or this stereotype, if you want to call it that, of African time. So words. The first one is words. Are you perpetuating it through your words? So the things you say when you arrive late for a meeting, do you say, oh, African time, you know how it is, guys? Are you one of those people? Or when someone is late, someone else is late, do you justify them by saying, oh, it's okay, African time, it's one of those things, island time, don't worry about it. And then the second one, so the first one is words. How do we use our words? And sometimes, and just on the issue of words, I'm just thinking now, is also maybe you see something on social media or someone on social media who may not be of African descent, if you're watching this, and you see something that's happened and someone says, oh, the wedding starts at 30 minutes late, or the bride only walked in 30 minutes late, and you go, haha, African time. So how are you perpetuating this metaphor or this stereotype with your words? That's the first thing, because we say things sometimes and we're not even aware that we're saying those things. Fix my crown. Second thing is our actions. Oh, guys, our actions. Now, you can only do this, you can only perpetuate through your actions once you've decided what you choose. Do you choose to change or unlearn this idea of African time and change the narrative? Because this is not necessarily just about changing African time and just being on time. It's about shifting a narrative that's become associated with people, with us, with the group, with an identity. What we've done is that we've taken African time and we've worn it. We've taken being late and being lapse and being time unconscious, if we can call it that, and we've worn it like an identity, like a cloak, like, like it is a part of who we are, when it isn't. It isn't necessarily, because even though, like we spoke in the beginning, there are things that influence, that we understand that time is a construct, and that time isn't necessarily, and this is just my views coming in here, and that time isn't necessarily a part of, or isn't necessarily one of those things that is set already. It's constructed by human beings that make sense of time. We created so many of the parts of time, from clocks, from how to read time, from all of our time zones. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. All of our time zones have been created by human beings. And so maybe it's because Africans understand that part, that they have a certain approach to time. But then as well, it's not all of them that are approaching time that way. So having said that, awareness, have a look at your words. So as you raise awareness, ask yourself, what words do I use when I notice African time being practiced? Or when I practice African time, what words do I use? Second thing you can ask yourself with regards to action, what are my actions in terms of African time? Do my actions indicate that I am a practicer or a believer in African time? Are my actions and words perpetuating that mentality? Are they perpetuating the idea of African time? Because people will only call you and take a label to you that you allow them to, unfortunately. And if we want to take back this superpower mentality or image that we know we have, we need to be the ones to claim it and to own it. So that's the first thing, raising awareness. Next one is action. How do we take action? And what action do we take? So like I said earlier, we're going to use, there was a bird making a sound. So the second thing we're going to look into is action, but we're going to use those exact same pillars, if you want to call them that we used in awareness. The first one is action and the second one is words, or the first one is words and the second one is action. Because for action, what we really are trying to do here is we are trying to change. We're trying to unlearn, but also relearn. I'm not saying relearn a Western perspective around time, and hear me correctly here. What I am saying is we want to relearn a respect for a physical human concept. We want to respect time, because as we respect time, it's an indication of respecting others, respecting plans, and getting things to flow, because we do live on planet Earth, and time is one of the concepts that govern living on Earth and being human. And so it's irrelevant, or it's destructive to throw that concept away altogether if you're a human being living on Earth, unfortunately. And coming from someone like myself who can be very, woo-woo every now and again, I know what I'm talking about. So action-wise, let's guard our words. What are we saying? Change the narrative or shift the narrative by using your words. Use your words. When you see African time being practiced and someone using that as an excuse, using African time as an excuse for being late, how are you using your words to shift the narrative? Now, I'm not saying let's all fight each other with our words. What I'm saying is let's try to use our words to change the narrative. Our words are one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal. So when someone does something that you feel is almost furthering the narrative of African time, what we can do is say things like, what you're doing is you're perpetuating the stereotype that Africans, or people of color even, are never on time. And by doing that, you are hurting our identity as a collective. What can I do to help you? Might also be a great way to use your words to change the narrative. What can I do to help you? What can we do to shift your routine so that you can be on time? What is it that's causing you not to be on time? What are the things that are driving that on the back end? And if it's a mentality problem, then we speak to the mentality. Cool. And then actions is the next one. So how can we shift our actions? And that's the next part of action. Act the way that you act. Now, if you are an African time practicer, it happens. We've all, okay, so let me just say this before I go on, because I know a lot of you are probably thinking it. Before I go on, we all have possibly had one or two or more appointments where we haven't been on time. And on time is subjective as well. So let's just clarify that being on time is subjective in and of itself, what it means to be on time. Okay, let me say this. So if a meeting is supposed to start at 10 a.m., if you are on time, it means you're there before 10 a.m. So that's not very subjective. Maybe the subjective part can be the early part or the late part. Depends what's been set by those hosting the meeting. But if you're there after 10, I would assume, in my own frame of reference, being there after 10, if the meeting starts at 10 and you're there after 10, it means you're late. If you're there before 10, it means you're somewhat early in a way. Yeah. But punctuality is about being there on time so that by the start time, you're ready to begin. Not that you're jumping into the room at 10 o'clock. That's another story and another video altogether. But that's the point. Let's use our words and our actions to shift the narrative so that we think about an identity as something that you put onto you, like an item of clothing. And so this idea of African time has become like a cloak that Africans have worn, that people of African descent have worn, whether they live in Africa or anywhere else in the world, have put on so that it's associated with us. But that's really what we want to unlearn and then relearn a respect or an honor for people's time and for the concept of time altogether, whether or not it's created by human beings and perpetuated by human beings. Being on Earth means that time is one of the constructs that govern existing on planet Earth. And so it's important. I would say it's important for us to respect time. Lastly, keep it up. So how do we keep it up? How do we build habits, routines, rituals that help us to make sure we are consistent? Because unlearning is one thing. If you can't keep it up, then what's the point, right? And the point of this and my work, especially with change, transitions, and unlearning, is all around building habits and routines that help us to keep up the changes we want to make. So how do we keep it up? I've got a few things that I've written down here. The first one is finding ways to set up your personal routine in your everyday life so that you can be consistent in your approach towards time. So some people will do something like setting alarms. That might work really well. Setting consistent alarms that help you and also kind of setting time apart. So almost budgeting your time, if you can think about it like that, where you set an alarm so that you have enough time to get ready, and then you also have enough time to get to the meeting as well. Because what a lot of people will say is that they underestimate the time, the amount of time that they have, and they overestimate their capacity to be on time or to show up on time or to get ready in time. And so you want to set up your environment in that way. Set an alarm, get people around you. So accountability is another really great way to do this. Having people around you that are going to help you to sort of break those ties, and have people, maybe you've got like similar to a focus group where you've got individuals that are also working on deconstructing the same concept, getting a coach, getting a mentor, whatever it is, so that you have people that are walking that journey with you and helping you out, but not just helping you out, but also supporting you on that journey. Next thing you can do is rewards. If your person likes chocolate, your person likes ice cream, person likes going to the beach, whatever it is, set yourself up with a reward. Sorry if I said award, I apologize. With a reward that helps to encourage you to get a behavior done. Now, there is a lot of study around this, and whether or not you subscribe to behavioral theories or whatever it is, the concept of rewarding yourself is how, in essence, the human mind and the human body reward us for anything. That's how everything gets encouraged in the human mind. If you think about concepts like the habit loop, around how every single habit that we have is made up of 3 parts. The prompt or the cue, the behavior itself, and then lastly, the reward. Rewards will come firstly in chemical form in the brain, a lot of the time in the form of dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone that says, yes, do that thing again, well done, you did that thing. And so you want to sort of set up little rewards for yourself. When you finish the week and you've been on time for all meetings, have an ice cream, go to the beach, take yourself out with your friends or whatever it is, the stuff that you enjoy. Set yourself up so you're consistently being encouraged to do and build the behaviors that you want to build. And that's very important. If you can't reward yourself for those things, then it becomes a lot harder for you to eventually do them. And that's how habits really are cemented. That's one of the ways that habits are cemented, is because there is a chemical reward in the brain that's reinforcing those habits. And so if we can build habits with that understanding, then it means we're in a place of power and we can change our behaviors and build new behaviors and new habits. Very last one is setting up goals. Now, it's pointless to say, hey, I'm just going to be on time, but you haven't set up a goal for yourself. Now, this could be in 2 forms. The first form could be setting up goals for yourself in terms of the actual meeting. Maybe saying, I would like to be waiting in the waiting room of the office 5 minutes before, or I'd like to be in the waiting room 10 minutes before, and that's your goal. And then you sort of work backwards from there. You understand the traffic flow in your area. You understand all of the different things that could happen along the way. You understand all the different constraints that could come up, and then you work yourself backwards. So that's the first way that you can set goals. The second way that you can set goals is set goals for yourself. Like, let's say, for example, if I want to be consistently on time for the entire month, or I want to be consistently on time for all of my team meetings. Maybe you have a weekly team meeting or a daily team meeting. You set yourself the goal of being 5 minutes early or 5 minutes before the starting time for the meeting for the entire week. And that becomes a goal that you set up and you keep yourself accountable for every now and again by setting up an environment that supports you, being around individuals that can help you, and consuming content that helps you to remember why you started, but also reinforces what you already know and believe about your capacity to be on time. Now, this was very much set up for individuals that are struggling with this, or that are looking to unlearn the idea or even the practice of African time. But if you are an individual who doesn't practice African time, you don't believe in it, these concepts can also be applied by yourself, maybe to support other individuals that are still in that mentality, or hold that mentality, or hold that practice as well, to support them, but also for yourself. As you start to be a little bit more conscious, a little bit more intentional about your own practices, you can definitely use this awareness, action, and keeping it up for yourself, not just with African time, but also with other habits and other routines that you build in your life. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode of ReImagine Africa. It's been absolutely awesome. And I think that the last thing that I will say with regards to African time and this concept is that it really is up to us, you know. As Africans, we have many things, and not just Africans, but each and every group of individuals on the planet in existence has got a certain identity or a certain box, if you can think about it like that, that they've been put into. Whether they come out of that box or not, and this is something I speak to my teams consistently about that I work with, whether you come out of that box or not is up to you. And that box is only been put, you've only been put into that box because, or you've only been kept in that box because you have perpetuated it. And if you start to shift that narrative, you come out of that box, but people can also get the invitation to take you out of that box. And so it's very much up to you. And I think we need to start to take agency. We need to start to take responsibility and accountability for some of the things that we do. Now, I'm not saying let's completely shift our identity and who we are when it comes to the things we enjoy and the things that serve us. If it serves you, keep doing it, keep working at it. But if it's destroying the narrative around what Africans are, who Africans are, what Africans do, what they stand for, then yes, maybe it's time to unlearn it, because it is defirming who we are as Africans, and it doesn't serve us as we move forward and as we claim our place as a superpower and as the amazing Mother Africa that we know we can be. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode of ReImagine Africa. It's been, as always, a pleasure to have you here. I'm Zanele Njapha, the UnLearning Lady. I've absolutely enjoyed my time with you. Please remember, let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on African time? Are you a practicer? Just be honest. No judgment in the space. I like to say that in this tribe, we have absolutely no judgment. We just share and we help to build each other as we move forward. Thank you so much. We will talk very, very soon. I look forward to reading your comments and responding to all of them. Thank you so much, guys. See you on the next episode of ReImagine Africa. Look after yourself, stay safe, and be amazing. Mwah, 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 mwah.